Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the First Class, Second Place podcast. I'm your host, Jason Enrique, and we got another first class guest up in the building today. But before we continue, I want to remind everybody that we are live in Bravery Studios in Garfield, New Jersey. Shout out to Najee behind the glass. What's going on, Najee? Hope everything's going well. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, yet another first class guest up in the building today. This is a very interesting young man here. I'm looking forward to this conversation. And believe it or not, this episode is a year in the making. We'll definitely delve into all of that. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Marko Dobre in the building. What is going on, bro?
How are we doing?
Yeah. Bro, so like I said, this took a year in the making because I remember about a year ago, I guess around this time in November, you just hit me up and you were like, yo, let me be on your podcast. And I'll be honest with you, I'm like, who the hell is this kid? Like, I never heard of him before. But he has to be a fan of what I'm doing, so I appreciate it nonetheless. Mm-hmm. So I said, yeah, I think we could work with something. And I did see that you were also a guest on Mina Mendoza's show. Yeah. Shout out to Mina Mendoza, love you, girl. And so I decided to check you out and your music and so on and so forth. And during this time, I guess because of some certain circumstances that you weren't able to make the show at the time, so we figured we'll figure out another time. And then something happened to you health wise, and we'll definitely get into all that and everything. But it took a while for you to get back up after something that happened that was very unexpected and very troubling. But I love the positivity that you've been able to radiate throughout all of that. But let's just but now you're here, and let's just start from the beginning. So I understand that you are from Totowa, New Jersey.
Yep.
All right.
Born and raised. Literally love it. It's a small little town in Jersey. Nobody really knows where Totowa is, but that's why I always have to rep it,
I actually did live in Totowa for a brief moment because I grew up in Hawthorne mainly, and I also did spend some time in Florida, especially in my teenage years. But I did live on Emerson for a brief moment because that's where my father was living at the time. And then afterwards, we moved back to Hawthorne, and then we lived in Wallington, and now I live in Hackensack now. But I do have a little bit of familiarity with Totowa. Mm-hmm. It is a nice town. I think it's a pretty decent place to raise a family, even though it's like right there by Patterson, by Union Ave and everything. But but I really don't have any complaints about Totowa. I mean, if you tell me that, yo, Jay, you want to hit up Gelati's, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say yes.
Bro, it's smacking. I love it. The Gelati's ice cream, you can never go wrong with that.
Right. But so I guess a little bit about like your experiences growing up in Totowa, New Jersey. Like what was it like for you?
Yeah, so it's just a small little town. Everybody knows each other. You go to the local bakery. Hey, Marko, how are you? Look how big you've grown. This and that. It's just a little community. Everybody enjoys.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did you know pretty early on that you wanted to be in music? Because you're a very young guy. I think you're one of the youngest guests that I've had on my show. So and you've been doing it for quite some time now. So did you know pretty early on that you were musically inclined, that this is what you wanted to do, or did you have any other dreams and aspirations in the process?
I've always known I want to be something in the social world. Mm-hmm. Either it was a YouTuber. I didn't know music. The only reason I wanted to go do music was because I found out about a kid named the Kid Leroy when he was first not popping on SoundCloud. I found this one song and I was like, dude, who is this kid? And at the time he was about maybe 15 and I was 13, 14. And that time it was 8th grade. I got my heart broken. That's how basically it all was, Yeah, it was really bad.
I've been there.
So I was just stuck. And I saved up a bunch of birthday money, and I was like, there's a studio nearby in Totowa. Why don't I ask one of my cool aunts? Because I know my mom wouldn't support it. My dad wouldn't support it. And at the time, they didn't, And now that they see the goals, I'm grateful. But I asked my really cool aunt, hey, I saved up $400 to go to the studio. Can you take me for my birthday? She said, yeah, why not? Let's test it out. I made a song. It wasn't the best song, but I knew, dude, this is what I needed to do. This is what I love to do. So from there, I would get a job. I was a freshman in high school, and I would go to school from 7 in the morning to 2:15. Then from that, I'd play soccer from 2:30 to 4:30. After that, I'd go to work. I was working at Kevin's Fine Jewelry at that time.
Okay.
As a guy doing the social media. Think about it. I was 15, 16 doing social media, uploading pictures to their website. different jewelries, different rings. And then from there, I would get off work at 9, 10 o'clock. Then I would go to the studio from 10 to 11, 10 to 12, as much as I could, because it's pricey. It's like $60 an hour. So that was just a grind every day.
Now, I want to go back to what you were saying about your parents. You said that now they're seeing everything that you've been doing and they're supportive and so on, but it wasn't like that in the beginning. Mm-mm. And I resonate with that because there was a time where I mentioned to my audience before, and I'm telling you now, that I was doing music. I wanted to get into music. I thought that's what I wanted to do with my career. I thought I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to be the next Jay-Z or something, or Nas, whatever the case may be. Looking back on in hindsight 2020, there wasn't anything that I was doing as far as putting actions, words into actions. And I could see now why people weren't believing in me, specifically my own parents. But once I started to get into it a little bit and proving that I can do it, and actually speaking with my actions more than my words, then they were like starting to be a little bit more supportive. But however, I thought that they were only supportive in the weirdest ways. Like my mom was more of the line, she was more of the mind wave of like, well, if Jesus wants you to do this, then I hope it works out for you. Whereas my father, he thought like, well, I hope it works out for you because then we can get out of this life of poverty that we're in. Yeah. And so I didn't think that was necessarily coming from a genuine place. So what do you feel like was the reason why your parents didn't support your dreams and aspirations until you actually finally put it to work?
Well, like you said, the word rapper, they didn't like.
Got it.
Because when you think of rapper, you think of gang violence, you think of drugs, you think of all the bad things.
All the negative connotations that come with it, yeah.
I guess when I was starting off, that's what I want to be. I want to be a rapper, you know? And that's when I kind of fell into a hole. So at the time, I tried reaching out, doing shows in New York, and I met this guy, and he was like, hey, from now on, I could be your manager, I'll get you shows. Weren't too many shows. It was like 20 people, 40 people. Sure. And at the time, I didn't know he was a gang member. And then that's where I fell off into the bad, this, that, with the gang stuff. And my mom always knew, I wouldn't do any drugs. I don't like drinking. I don't do all that stuff. So I told her, I was like, hey, listen, other people are going to smoke in the studio because, that's what my manager at the time and everyone does. They smoke. And Right. Yeah. And that just wasn't for me. So then I had to branch off and I guess know what I wanted to do. So that's where pop came into my life, I mean, I've always loved pop. That was my biggest influence. But maybe I think I just wanted to be cool and label myself as a rapper because I still love rap. Rap is cool. But I don't think that's what I want to label myself as.
Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that because at that moment in time, you wanted to be into music, but you needed to find your actual footing. And we spoke a little bit about this before we started recording, where one of the things that I can appreciate of like a Fetty Wap or a Post Malone or an MGK or whatever the case may be is that, they started off in one genre, but then afterwards they go off into other ones. And I will always respect a musician more than somebody that's just sticking to their genre. And nothing wrong with what they're doing because they may be excelling at it. They probably don't know how to do anything else. But for me, the real art is actually being a musician and being experimental and trying different things and not trying to stay in one box or feel like they should stay in one specific lane. And, because you're going to hinder yourself as far as creativity goes. And in the case of you, it just seems like you just needed to find your footing. All right. And you don't take it back because it was a part of your life and it's part of your career and you're very grateful for it. But it led you to the door that you were meant to actually walk through at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just had to find who I am, and that's where I guess high school and middle school play out because that's the years you're trying to find who you are. You would always have that depression. You would always have that because I know so many people in high school or middle school that are going through so many things mentally. Maybe they're not liking how they look or this and that, but it's like not even about that. It's just be who you are and others will like you for you. You know what I mean?
Right. I absolutely love what you're saying there because, admittedly, I'm a lot older than you. I think, honestly, I think that I could be your father at the age that I am. You're a pretty young guy. But either way, that's neither here nor there. what I'm trying to get at is that during my time, I guess when I was a little bit younger than what you are now, there was a time where being able to talk about these things were extremely taboo, especially in my family and other minority families. Like if you expressed yourself and wanted to, actually look for help or need help or somebody to talk to, that was just like a sign of weakness. So we kind of had to learn how to compartmentalize everything, and in some ways it's kind of counterproductive because you're not solving the problem. You're just letting the problem eat you up inside. Whereas I feel like your generation is actually more, they're more open to actually being open and honest and transparent because it's not looked at as taboo. It's looking at, like, I think your generation finally realizes that it's okay to ask for help and realize that it's okay to be not okay sometimes.
But there's a difference though. With me, I don't like talking about my feelings.
Right.
I find it that it's even harder to talk about my feelings. I'd rather listen to what other people got to say and what other people's problems are and help them. Like, I feel like in order to help me, I need to help someone else. And that's just who I am, I guess.
And in a way, that's kind of cathartic for you as well.
Yeah, it's therapeutic.
There's nothing wrong with that. And maybe maybe there is going to come a time where you feel comfortable enough to share whatever you're going through with that special someone or certain people in your life, whatever the case may be. You're just not there yet, but you have the whole world ahead of you. And I think that you've been making a lot of strides, especially, which is impressive for somebody that has been able to accomplish so much at your age. And, with something that happened to you very recently where it was very life-threatening, one of the things that I think was really inspiring about the whole thing is that you still remained positive through all of that stuff. Like, I was doing my research and I saw that there was a podcast that you were on, and they were talking about your diagnosis of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I think it's called. And you were the one that was bigging yourself up, like, don't worry, man, everything's going to be fine. As opposed to everybody else telling you that it's going to be fine. They're not giving you words of encouragement. You're giving words of encouragement to yourself. And I think that's really, that shows a lot of strength in you. And, first and foremost, I want to say that I'm glad that you've made a pretty great recovery. It seems like, am I right that it's in remission right now?
Yep.
Perfect. A round of applause, Nasri. Round of applause for his remission.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I actually had a conversation with somebody not too long ago because I was explaining who I was having on my show tonight, and I explained about this was supposed to happen a year ago, but through certain things that were beyond our control, it just couldn't happen. It's just the roll of the dice that happens. But I think that more now than ever, you're actually supposed to be in the seat right in here, right now, at this particular moment, because I think that you have a bigger message to spread now than you did a year ago.
Yeah, I think honestly, the things that happened to me in my life, God has done it for a reason. I have not been this religious. I mean, of course, I would go to church every Sunday with my grandma. But honestly, the things that have happened, and people don't know what happened because I like to keep it inside. See, when I was going through my treatment, I would tell them everything's going to be okay, I don't want to see my mom cry. I don't want to see my dad cry or family members because that's what they do. Every time they see me, they just cry. And I would tell them, listen, I mean, of course, when I heard the news, I got cancer, stage 4. I had to tell him, like, I cried, of course, for 5 minutes, but I had to tell him, listen, everything's going to be all right. Look at me. I'm good. And I don't tell people these things, but listen, I was peeing blood. I had a tube in the back of my back from my kidney. I had 3 different catheters. They would always get infected. They had to keep putting it in my, where, I had pneumonia. I had, so many things going on. Like, I could just name them. I could name them. And I don't tell people these things. Like, I really did feel like I was going to die. I'm not going to lie. But I don't tell these people these things because I need to tell them, like, everything's going to be okay. The more you smile, I feel like the more you're going to get through it. And that's just what life's about. The more you're sad about things, the harder it's going to get, Just smile and everything's going to be better.
And I agree with that sentiment, but we're also talking about how it's okay to express yourself even if it's not in the most positive light, because in some way to some people, I guess everybody's different. I know for me, if I if I talk out my problems, and also within reason, then, just getting it out is therapeutic for me. And, I even have a friend of mine where it seems like every time we talk on the phone, we're talking about the same things over and over that they're going through. And to anybody else, they would be like, oh my God, I don't know if I could take this negativity anymore because it's just the same story over and over again, hamster wheel, so on and so forth. But I'm not that type of person because I know what it's like for being shunned by talking about whatever I'm going through. And yes, I have to bring it up over and over because it's all I could keep thinking about and I need to get it out somehow. And then, it's almost like I get deserted, for lack of a better term, because I can't find the right people that I could talk this about. But it's also like one thing about talking about it, but you got to do something about it as well. But as far as you saying that everything's going to be fine and, smiling and everything, and that's all well and good. But I could also, I can't even imagine, especially with the diagnosis that you received, that how much pressure that must have been on you internally and still trying to smile all through it. And that's great. It's admirable. But I could also understand, I could try to understand, and maybe I won't really fully understand what that pressure must have been like internally. Because, you're trying to remain positive, but deep down inside, it could always go the other way.
Well, I guess I never thought that way. Like, I got the diagnosis. We all cried. My mom kept crying. She would always cry. But I only cried for 5 minutes because I knew I'd have to deal with it. So I was just like, I'm going to deal with it. And I know I couldn't give out because I have people that love me. I have my friends, family.
You have a great support system.
Everyone. And to make it even stronger, I went on TikTok Live. I feel like that's what helped me the most because I would always be bored, I didn't have my PS4. At the time, it was PS4. I didn't have my PS4 and to play because the hospital, like the Wi-Fi and all that.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. I would just sit there. Besides scrolling on TikTok, I would go TikTok Live with 10,000 people on there. Wow. And they would just ask me questions. And I feel like answering questions about what I'm going through is more therapeutic, and that's me talking my way through everything,
That's your form of therapy.
Exactly. So answering those questions that other people have is my form of therapy.
I love that. Now, if for those that don't know or they're not aware, and I definitely am not fully versed in all of this, but I have heard of the term. Can you elaborate a little bit more about this rare condition of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that you were diagnosed with?
So basically, it's a lymphoma. Lymphoma is in your lymph nodes. So your lymph nodes are here in your neck, under your armpit, down by your groins. But I had stage 4, so it was all over the place. I had in my neck, in my kidneys, my legs, my bone, my right bone where I tore my ACL. And it got so bad to the point that it was blocking up my kidneys and I couldn't pee, or I was peeing blood and I would throw up all the time. And there were just so many things to it that was off, but the doctors didn't know yet. So the way we figured it out was after 3-4 months, I lost 40 pounds in 2 weeks. Like that's ridiculous. I thought I was just looking good, But no, lost 40 pounds, had cold-like symptoms. Once they did the biopsy, we knew what it was,
Yeah. Now, and you actually got the worst case of it, stage 4. I mean, when people hear cancer in stage 4, that's, because I had an uncle who's unfortunately no longer with us, but he had pancreatic cancer and it was stage 4, and he fought as much as he could, but ultimately the disease gave in and he's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But is this something that do you know if it's hereditary, or do you know anything that's caused? Because what's interesting to me is that it's a rare form. That's what I read.
So it's not even in people 50 and under. It's 50 and over. So how did I get it? No idea. Yeah, no idea. I even had kidney stones when I was done with treatment. How did I get that too? I don't even know. Kids don't even get kidney stones. So So I don't know what's happening, but I guess everything's falling into place because of God. And I'm going to keep referring to that because it's a blessing and a curse, but I found who I am. I know what I want to do with my life. And I feel like I'm just blessed,
I I love that. Throughout this whole ordeal, how do you feel that it's made you a better artist and a better person in general?
That's a good question, but I think before I was doing music because of a girl.
Mm.
Now I'm doing music because of a purpose. So if
Drop
I
a bomb
didn't
on that one, Najee. Drop a bomb on that one.
so if I didn't go through what I just went through, what would I be doing?
Mm.
Would I keep making music about this girl? Would I keep being stuck on this girl? No, I feel like what I was meant to be doing now, and I definitely know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. It's to spread positive message to the world. It's to help other people and to just spread the message. You know, people are not alone in this world. Like I said, when I went on TikTok Live, there's other people just like me going through things. They're like, you know, I have this, I have sarcoma, I have this. Like, I met a girl, she's one of my best friends, and her name is Daria. And she has osteosarcoma. She's still battling it right now.
God bless her.
Yeah, she's been dealing with it for 4 years, and a lot of people say I'm tough, but that girl's tougher, man.
Really?
So if I didn't have friends and people to rely on, you know, that are like just to talk it out, what we're going through the same thing, make jokes about it, you know, then I don't know. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, God's definitely putting people in my life and things in my life that are making my life 10 times better.
Now, this may sound ignorant or it may sound stupid coming from me, but do you feel like this ordeal that you went through is also another way of showing you that, hey, we're not promised here forever on this earth, so whatever it is that you want to do, just fucking go for it?
Leave your mark?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah. Right now I'm doing, working with a nonprofit organization, one of the bigger ones, called the Valerie Center. They have 10 different locations all around the world. And one of them was luckily the hospital I was at, Morristown Medical. And the Valerie Fund, I would have never went to that hospital if the ambulance didn't take me there. It was 30 minutes away. You know, ambulances don't drive 30 minutes away.
Right.
We didn't like Chilton. They didn't know what was going on. It wasn't working out. They were going to tell me to not stay in the hospital, and they were going to keep me outpatient, you know, like go every day here, get your treatments every day. But I had to physically stay in the hospital. So if I didn't, that family right there, the Valerie Fund, was a true blessing, you know, because the people there are amazing. I have crazy nurses. They're all young, and you can just make jokes with them, you know. I have great doctors that are just cool, you know. I had this one nurse. She's one of the head nurses, and she didn't even know who I was. But I would be there cracking jokes with her, and it was only week 1. And I told her what my favorite candy was. She brought me the biggest bag of Swedish Fish. I would always remember this, the biggest bag of Swedish Fish, like this big, bigger than my head. And just to make my day a little bit better, you know. It's like things like that, the little things make someone's day 10 times better. And that's what I like to do. I like to give out compliments, at least one compliment a day, just to make someone's day a little better. You don't understand, like, that one compliment could go a long way.
Oh, absolutely. And I share that same sentiment with you, although I will add a little bit more of a caveat to it where, you know, that long old term of, you know, if you have nothing nice to say, then don't say nothing. I'm not saying that I'm a dick per se, but what I'm trying to get to, what I'm trying to explain is that I am a huge supporter. Like, I've been very blessed to be surrounded by an immense amount of people that are extremely talented, whether it's acting, podcasting, music, whatever the case may be. I mean, one of the things I'm grateful for this platform, this podcast, is that it's been able to help me make a lot of connections with some of the greatest talents this world has ever seen and probably hasn't seen yet. And with that being said, for me, support is always going to be free. Support, compliments, subscriptions, whatever the case may be, is always going to be free for me, because if I'm putting all that time and effort into somebody that into something that they're doing that's very passionate about and they believe in it, I have to share that same sentiment with them, because I truly believe that they have what it takes to make this world a better place. And that's why when I do it, I'm not trying to do it for a favor in return or trying to hope for good karma, whatever the case may be. Like, I legitimately tell somebody that if, like, I'm like, one of my good friends, she's an amazing podcaster. I tell her that because I genuinely think it's an amazing podcast. Even if we weren't friends, I would still be a fan of the show. But I've been very fortunate and blessed to be a friend of hers, and we're also colleagues. And I tell them all the time how much of a great job that they're doing, not just to make them feel better, but also because it's the truth. And just being open and honest with sharing that sentiment makes me feel better about my day as well, because it goes a long way with them as it can go a long way with me as well. And at the end of the day, as corny as it may sound, I'm just trying to spread the positivity out there.
No, that's exactly what I do. You know, I try to give everyone a chance. Like, if I see that you are actually dedicated and you actually want to work hard, I will try to help in all my power I can. You know, I know this one guy, he's a gym influencer. That's what he wants to be, but he's consistent. He records every day. He posts every day. And that's what I love about him. So I said, brother, I'll be your cameraman. Whenever you want, just call me. I'll make time out of my day, and I'll just record you, and I'll edit all your videos. You tell me. That's one. I like to record other people. You know, if I believe you have a great voice, this is what you want to do, I'll record my friend for free, you know, at the studio. Like, if I just love seeing people that work hard towards their dream, you know, and that's just what I love.
Do you think a part of that is because there was a time in your life where you felt like you weren't getting the support that you feel like you give everybody else?
Well, yeah. I honestly, I never got support ever. My whole high school career, I've always got made fun of.
You always felt like your back was always up against the wall.
Always. I've never had one person support me besides my best friend, my one friend, Brian. And he would tell me, yeah, this is not it, you know, this is okay. But once I started being consistent and I started making better music and I started building connections and I started making relationships that who would have thought an 18-year-old kid could make, you know, then other people were like, wow, man, you know, I've always believed in you. I always did this for you. Like, come on. Like, you said it was, you were making fun of me the other day. Like, hey, when are you gonna rap for me? Like, no, bro. You know, it sucks, but you always got to be kind to people. You know, I'm not gonna say, hey, you were a dick to me. I mean,
right, yeah. And I'm glad that you learned that at a very early age, because I was that reactive person that if you're a dick to me, I'm a dick to you. I mean, that was just the way I was wired, and I didn't know any better. I was young, stupid, naive, the whole nine, and that was my defense mechanism. But as I got older, and everything is hindsight 2020, I realized that I was really playing into their games, and I didn't make myself any better in the process. And one thing that I will always, and this is kind of a little bit off topic, but it kind of goes along to what we're talking about, is one thing that I will always respect, no matter what, always, is going to be the truth. And what I mean by that is, let's say you and I are talking or about something else. We're out hanging out, whatever. We're just talking and we're good friends and everything. And you have something that you want to tell me, and it's the God's honest truth. And I may not like to hear what you have to say, but it's coming from a place of love and it's actual truth. I'm always going to respect it. I may not like to hear it, but I'm always going to respect it, because one thing that really grinds my gears is when people try to either lie to me or sugarcoat something, because to me it's an insult. It's an insult to my intelligence. So I feel like even if I hear something that I don't agree with or I don't like in that moment, at the end of the day, I'm always going to respect it, because I feel like we have too many people out there that are too worried about, you know, being perceived as the bad person just because they're just being honest.
No, I agree with that totally, because everyone says my music is good. That's all I hear. Your music is good. I listen to it. And there are a lot of people that do, you know, they actually say, okay. But I've always had this one guy, big in the music industry, and he's a director. Shout out Mush. He would always tell me like, yo, this song is not it. This beat is whack. And I know it's not coming out of hate, because he's like a big brother, you know. That's what they do. They tell me the God honest truth. And that's honestly what I need to hear sometimes. Because good is not going to cut it, you know.
Right.
If I want to make it and I want to be successful in what I do, I need to hear the truth.
Right. And I agree. Again, share the same sentiment, because there were times where people would tell me that I'm doing a great job with this podcast, but then every now and then they'll be like, you know, that was cool, but I don't think that's usually what you do, or I think you could do better, or this, that, and forth. Like, this wasn't your greatest one. I think that you could have fixed some things here and there, or maybe you shouldn't have said that. I need that shit. I need that, because if I just get told that I'm doing great, then I'm just gonna stay complacent and not, become better, because I want to continue to evolve. I want to continue to be better than I was 100 episodes ago. And I think that I have been able to do that, but I couldn't have been able to do it without the truth from the people that I feel like really care the most. And really, honestly, ironic, what it comes down to is that if somebody's telling you that shit is whack, but they're telling you from a place of love, that's what you need right there, as opposed to somebody that's just going to tell you what you need to hear, and it's going to be counterproductive.
Yeah. I think one thing I actually did lack with support was the people around me. I would never have support. And not only that, there would never be people that are dedicated like me, or have the same passion as me, or have the same dream as me. Or it doesn't even have to be dream, just dedication, because people don't have dedication nowadays.
Right.
So once people started seeing how dedicated I was, then that's where it started coming in place. I would try to get free videos, and it would happen. I'd have people that support me and love me, and I love them back, and they would give me free videos, music videos. And I have this big older brother, that his name is Jeff. He would record me every day when I was in the hospital. Even in this hospital, he would come to the hospital and record me for free. Yeah. And I was like, bro, I can't pay because I'm not working. And he goes, bro, I got you. So what he did was he bought the whole studio and he recorded me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. And, it kind of brings me to like, when you shared your diagnosis with the world, one of the things that I will commend you about is that it was coming from a place of genuine. Like, you were sharing with the world what you were going through, and you just felt like you needed to spread a message. Whereas I feel like anybody else that would probably be in a lesser risk situation, a less severe situation, would have been simply doing it for the likes and the clout and so on and so forth, just to get attention. But that's not the sense that I got from you.
That's fun you say that. A lot of people told me, they're like, why don't you use the cancer as your advantage? Why don't you you could blow up off this? But what if I don't want to blow off that? What if I don't want to be known as the kid that got cancer? What if
that's like a slap in the face to somebody that's actually in a worse situation than you? Like, no, that's not right.
I told him, I tell a lot of people, I'm like, dude, that's not what I want to be known for. I'd rather spread a message through what I'm going through. And maybe if God sees what I'm doing, he might, bless me, and maybe things might happen. And that's, I guess, what's happening now. And that's just a blessing to me,
So switching gears, as I see, you got a FDU sweatshirt going on right there. That's your alma mater. So I'm actually not that far from Fairleigh Dickinson. I didn't go there or anything like that. But so aside from doing music and all the other stuff that you've been doing, what is your next step in your life as for your alma mater?
Well,
because it's currently constituted.
I always want to have a backup plan. A lot of people don't have a backup plan, but I would always like to, just because I don't want to be a bum.
Sure.
I've seen many people, even in my family, just not work, and it doesn't go well for them. So I want to make something out of my life. So God forbid, in case music doesn't go well, I thought I want to be a doctor. So I did biochem. It's my first year, and it wasn't really working out because due to medical reasons and stuff, couldn't take tests. I couldn't go to class. So that professor wasn't really understanding. So I had to switch my major, and I knew all that work was not for me. So I did sociology, and I figured out what I want to be. I want to be a child life specialist because I can make kids laugh. I can, that's something I could do. I could just talk for days. I'm a yapper. I'm a big yapper.
Sure.
So if
look at me, I do this podcast all the time. So yeah.
Yeah, bro. So if I could do something I love, why not make money off it? So,
right. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna do. I'm in my first year, and I love it. I love college so far.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Going back to music a little bit, so I kind of want to get your take on this because, like, I come from a different generation, and as unfortunate it pains me to say that. But back when I was doing music, the politics were much different back then. Like, I came from an era where you had to, like, I was right on that cusp where, we were kind of getting away from like performing in clubs and lounges and stages and, selling the CDs out the trunk of your car and trying to get radio play from a famous DJ, whatever the case may be. I was on that cusp where everything was getting deviated from that, and now we're in the digital age. Like, it's not just so much about having skill and having talent. Like, you got to learn how to walk, you got to learn how to talk, you got to be, your personality's got to be on point. This, that, and the third. It's almost like you're going up against Apple's marketing campaign.
Yeah,
it's so much that goes into it. So, but you got into music at a fairly early age. Now, has the struggle been there as far as music is concerned, as like other politics that I had to go through when I was doing music? Or do you feel like it's much more easier and attainable these days?
So,
or better yet, do you think it's even because of that? Do you think it's even oversaturated at this point?
I feel like it has gotten easier in a way.
Mm.
You know, there are a lot of labels putting money behind people that we might think that's underground or, that doesn't have, but they're clearly signed,
Mm.
So it's like there's a lot of politics behind it and blowing up, but it's totally different compared to selling CDs and nowadays,
Sure.
You guys, no offense, you guys sold CDs.
Right.
And nowadays, you make a TikTok, it could go viral.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But when you make a TikTok and they go viral, they're a one-hit wonder. A lot of them are one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
But I also feel like that kind of takes away from the passion. I mean, I may be a cynical artist talking about this, but I always was in it for the love of the game and the love of the art and the love of the genre. Where if I got rich off of it, fine, great. Mm-hmm. But that's not the main reason why I got into it. There was a point in my life where I was so passionate about it. It was so deeply embedded into my bones until I found out that this is not the route that was meant for me to go. And luckily now I've been able to find out the route that I needed to go, and I'm very thankful for that. But it was almost just like you when you were starting out. You were displaying a certain image, and then it turns out that wasn't who you were, but it led you to a trajectory where it led you to the door where you need to be.
Yes, from my clothes,
mm-hmm.
from the jewelry I wear. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love jewelry.
Sure.
I love blinged out. I'm as gaudy as they get. I'm out
right.
there. But being that hip hop ghetto gangster that I had to move away from that,
right.
from the clothes.
It wasn't you though.
It definitely was not me. No.
It was definitely an image that you were trying to portray, but
exactly.
ultimately it wasn't you.
Mm-mm. And I love making that music. I still do,
mm-hmm.
but I just don't want to release it anymore. I could hop on another rapper's song. They could post it, but I like to stick to pop. I like to do different versions of pop, country, house, opera, for even
wow, look at that. Yeah.
Everything, jazz. Like, there's so many things you could do, indie, but now I figured out what I want to do and what my passion is.
What would you say musically so far has been your proudest achievement?
Man, there's been so much, which I'm blessed to happen at this age. For me, I wouldn't say this is my biggest one because I really don't listen to him. I met and got recognized by a member from Kiss, the band, the drummer.
Okay.
And I got an award from him.
Nice.
And yeah, and people would say that's my biggest accomplishment, but I feel like my biggest accomplishment is everybody that I help. Like, that may sound corny, but that's just what I like to do.
That's genuinely how you feel.
Yeah.
And I prefer an answer from the heart as opposed to you just giving me a politically correct answer.
Yeah. If I had to say politically correct,
mm-hmm.
meeting the big stars, like, I met so many people and yeah, it has been a blessing, but that's not really what, it does get me excited for a little bit,
mm-hmm.
but what gets me excited in the long run, it makes me happy, is putting a smile on another kid's face that's might be going through something that's tragic,
Yeah, I honestly believe that that's a lot more rewarding. Now, listen,
mm-hmm.
I've been very fortunate to have some very prominent, even legends on the show before. Like, I've had Crazy Legs on my show. I've had conversations with Joe Beningo. I've had conversations with a whole bunch of other people that that have kind of escaping me right now. But I've been very fortunate to either work with them on a podcast or work with them in some kind of capacity in any way. But at the end of the day, that's all well and good, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, what really does it for me is when people actually take heed to my show or my performance in a film that I'm doing or whatever the case may be. It could even be a simple social media post, and me being able to, touch people, for lack of a better term, and make them feel like they actually do it. Because I'm a person that was always self-deprecating for many, many years until I finally snapped out of it and try to learn how to be more kind to myself, and showing that if I can do it, anybody else can. I think that could be more rewarding than any celebrity in my cell phone could be.
Now, if you had to say a message, what would be your message?
My message is just to show up, because one of the things that I feel like hindered me at a very early age was just talking about it, but not showing up. And that's why I believe actions speak louder than words, that old cliche saying. But at the end of the day, I just have to show up, because it may not go the way that I wanted to. I might fall flat on my face. I might actually succeed more than I thought I would. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to feel better about showing up and not being afraid of the moment. So that would be my message to anybody out there. Just show up, because it can go better it can go for better, it can go for worse. But at the end of the day, you actually did it, as opposed to just hindering on it.
Yeah.
I guess that would be my message.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Dedication is a huge thing.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've also had to learn also, and not feel like I'm some kind of narcissist or whatever, is be proud of my accomplishments. Because you right now, you are on episode 155 of First Class Second Place. And I'm very proud of that accomplishment, because statistically, they say that a lot of podcasts out there, and there's tons out there. There's billions and billions of people that are doing this now, but there's only a certain percentage of people that have been able to get the pass through the first 10 episodes or even 3 months. I've been doing this show now for 3 years. I've now reached 155. I'm reaching for 200 pretty soon, God willing. And I don't do it for any other reason else than because I found something that I'm actually feel like I'm good at, and that people enjoy, and something that gives me peace. This is my therapy, and I'm just glad that I'm able to share this gift with the rest of the world. And also, it's not just about me. I get so much joy from having people like you, or having other people of your ilk on my show to showcase their talents and speak their truth, and so on and so forth. Because like you said, you felt like you didn't have the support before, and now you happen to fast forward to now happen to be on a platform that can actually be a betterment to you as far as support goes than you could even imagine. I'm not saying that I have thousands and millions of followers or anything like that, but that small percentage of people that may be in my audience can resonate with what you say and what you do in life, that is going to be much more exponentially supportive than anything else in the world could be.
Yeah. Well, my whole end goal is, like, no matter how big I get, you can always DM me and reach out and just talk.
Same.
I've had so many people that just want to talk about things, like what they're going through, even if it's cancer related, which there was a lot, or just what you're going through in the house with family, kids younger than me, doing drugs. It's like, even I'm here just to talk. My DMs are always open. That's just what makes me feel good.
Right. Now, I'm going to share a story with you and also the audience that I think is pretty cool, even though it suffers from a little bit of pain from me, and I'll explain. So, unfortunately, I'm a New York Jets fan.
Me too.
Yeah, so it's been a rough couple decades for us right now.
I think I caused it. I swear I haven't became a Jets fan. So I became a Jets fan the past couple weeks only.
Okay.
I'm not. Maybe it's been like a month or two.
Because they called you out. They asked you to come to the.
Yeah. So I did the coin toss. Solomon Thomas followed me.
Right.
And they're just great people. So I was like, why don't I become a Jets fan? And just went. Bro, it just went downhill, bro.
Listen. I first of all, do not ever take that responsibility, because this team has been a dumpster fire way before you decided to become a fan.
But it sucks to say they're all good people.
I know. No, I
sucks to say. I know.
I agree with you, and I'm sure that they're fantastic people. Like, I never met the former head coach Robert Saleh, but from what I heard, on all accounts, he's an amazing person. But anyway, the point that I'm getting at is, so here I am watching, ruining my Sunday as usual, being a fan of this miserable franchise that has given me nothing but agita and hemorrhoids and all these other debilitating things for many, many years. But one thing that I thought was really cool, and it was actually worth watching it on TV instead of the game itself, because the game was a fucking disaster, was you, along with several other kids, with cancer in remission, and actually, working with Solomon Thomas and all these other people to spread awareness. And I must, even though you weren't a fan of that team at that particular point yet, that must have been an amazing experience, because that shows that, your story is just as important as everybody else on that field with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was never a football fan. I mean, I wouldn't even. Only thing I'd watch is the halftime Super Bowl. Like,
okay, yeah, you're one of those people, yeah.
Let's be for real. And now, ever since like I met great, amazing people that still reach out to me till this day,
nice,
and check up on me, like Quincy
Williams.
Quincy Williams,
love Quincy,
and Solomon. That's what made my heart go towards them. Like that's what makes me want to support them even more. Just like they support me. They even asked me, like when I was there, they go, "Yo, when are you gonna perform your song?" Like I'm like, actually, and I was like, bro, that actually, that made me feel real good. And and that's what made me love the game.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. No matter how bad they're losing.
Yeah. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, I always joke around and I say, like, hey, at the end of the day, they're going to go feeling bad after they lost a game in their Ferrari or their Lamborghini.
G-Wagon.
Their G-Wagon.
It's a white G-Wagon. Yeah, I can always remember that. He pulled up to the hospital, white G-Wagon. I was like, damn, bro.
I mean, even though they lost in embarrassing fashion, his life is still pretty goddamn good. Yeah. So I don't think he's crying too much. But it's so great you bring up Solomon Thomas, because that's a guy who he's been very open and honest and transparent about some of the struggles that he's gone through, especially with the death of his sister and everything. That's a guy that I would love to have on my show one day, not even just from a football standpoint, but just from a human being standpoint.
You have no idea.
I'm just putting that out there in manifestation right now, but I can imagine how cool that must have felt.
Yeah, great guy. He's just a well-rounded great guy, man. Like,
seems like it.
Like he's almost like a big brother, but like I don't even know the guy that much. Like, like it's kind of crazy. Yeah, he has also a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
I forgot what it's called, but nonprofit organization, and he's always posting about it. He's always reaching out to kids. He's always just spreading a great message, which that's what I love. That's the things that I love, and that's what I could relate to, and yeah, that's what makes my heart,
So just to do a little research here. So the name of the nonprofit organization is called the Defensive Line.
Defensive Line,
that's what it's called, yeah. So shout out to the Defensive Line. Thank you for all the great work that you do, and keep on doing the great work that you guys continue to do, because we need more people like you in the world. And thank you so much for your hard work and your dedication. So obviously, we've talked about your diagnosis, and we also talked about your passions about in the medical field and everything, but the common theme here is still with the music. So I know that that's something that you're still very passionate about and you're going to continue to pursue. What projects do you have on the horizon that is like either you're still working on or is already out there that people can consume? What's next for as far as Marko Dobre, the artist?
So I just dropped a music video called Body, and
fire video, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. That was shot by director Stoops. Great guy. I got my friend. That's a girl. A lot of girls don't want to be in music videos. Trust me, none of them do. And that's the only girl that actually said, "Hey, let me be in your music video." She asked me. I said, "Are you for real, or you're just messing with me?" No, she was for real, and she's a great looking girl. So. I had great people by my side to help me with that video. The video is on YouTube, Marko Dobre, Marko Dobre, and it's out on all platforms. And what's next?
Yeah.
Next is more videos and more singles. I might want to work on a project. I have so many songs in the vault. It's like I just want to release all of them, but I can't. I know I can't. So I have to little by little.
Absolutely. I mean, well, listen, bro, I admittedly, I will say this, and I'm going to be just transparent here, but I promise it's coming from a place of love. So initially, when I first heard your music, I thought it was good, but I
Yeah.
come from a different generation, so it was more of me not hating. It was more like I don't really fully understand that, but that's just because I'm showing my age here. But
Yeah.
when I actually took time to really delve into who you were and what your music is about, and I started to hear much deeper messages in what you were saying and putting into your art, that I have no choice but to respect that at this point. So all I'm just going to say is just keep on doing the hard work that you've been doing. Stay dedicated, stay hardworking, stay in the fight, and just keep up the good work, man. Because listen, I preach all the time on the show that I could bring anybody I want on the show, but I only really care about the people that I think have something to bring to the table, whether it's through their words or their actions or whatever the case may be. And I think even though it took a year in the making and it came at the right perfect time for you to be here, at the end of the day, you were meant to be on the show, and I'm proud that you were a guest on the show. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your dedication, and keep doing your thing, man, because you're doing your fucking thing.
Thank you.
I really genuinely mean that.
It's like all about hard work, dude. Like I can't. See, mentally, that's where I'm at. I have to keep myself busy, or else I'm gonna be depressed. Like that's just me though.
Yeah.
So I have to always keep myself busy.
But I also think that's brave of you, because you're acknowledging what you're feeling and how you're feeling, as opposed to just compartmentalizing it, which is something that I think you would do. But I think that you're showing growth in saying that right then and there. And you're still a very young guy, so kudos to you, man. So keep on doing your thing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, so we're about to close out this episode in a little bit, but before we go, we just have one more segment just to have a nice little fun with it. And this is an opportunity for people to get to know Marko Dobre a little bit more. So for our final segment, ladies and gentlemen, this is called This or That. If you've never seen the show before, what happens, I will ask Marko Dobre some multiple choice questions. It's based off of black sheeps. You can get with this, you can get with that. And just an opportunity to get you a little bit, get to know you a little bit more and just have fun with it. This is not the SATs. Don't try to overthink it. Just have fun with it, my man. All right. So are you ready, Mr. Engineer? Are you ready, Mr. Dobre?
Yes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, for This or That, you, Mr. Marko, playlist or podcast?
Playlist.
Slides or Crocs?
Slides. Oh.
Beach or pool?
Beach.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl. Yeah.
Instagram or TikTok?
TikTok.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, I'm an extrovert. Yeah.
Batman or Superman?
Who wins in a fight?
Just your favorite. Or who do you like better?
Batman.
All right. Captain America or Iron Man?
Iron Man. I love Iron Man, dude.
I think I was Tony Stark in another life.
Oh my God. I swear I love Iron Man.
Are you glass half empty or glass half full?
What does that even mean?
I guess to some people it means that either the cup that you have, you can either, do you look at it as only empty or half full? Like being like, do you only have so much to give or do you have more to give?
Oh, wow. Damn, I didn't even think about that.
I could be wrong about that, but just to cheat a little bit, for the most part, people say half glass full. That's more of the positive note.
Then yeah, that.
Okay.
I didn't really understand it too much. I'm a little slower.
No, you got a lot of growing up to do, my man. Would you rather be embarrassed or be afraid?
Embarrassed.
Would you rather be too hot or be too cold?
Too cold.
To give or to receive?
To give.
Do you prefer the window seat or the aisle seat?
The window.
Okay. Book smart or street smart?
Oh, I'm street smart.
Do you prefer reading or writing?
Writing.
Do you prefer ice water or room temperature?
Ice. All the way.
Do you prefer Drake or Kendrick Lamar?
Drake.
Okay. Post Malone or MGK?
Post Malone.
All right. And then finally, teamwork or solo project?
Damn, I guess it depends what I do, but
Okay.
yeah,
In this moment in time?
Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this episode of First Class, Second Place. That is going to do it for the segment of This or That. Thank you so much to my great guest, Marko Dobre, for coming through.
Having me.
Anybody you want to give
Appreciate
a shout out to before we close out?
Oh, my family. Thank you, everyone that supported me. Jeff, Mush, everybody. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
And remind everybody again where they can find you on social media and where they can find your music.
Marko Dobre everywhere. Marko. People spell it wrong, like Marco, but it's always Marko. You got to remember that. Dobre, everything.
Everything. All right. My man, it's been a long time in the making, but I'm finally glad that we did this, and look forward to having you in future episodes, man. I think we have a lot more to talk about in the future.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at I am Jason Enrique on all social media platforms. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Everything. Share with all your friends. Blow up the numbers. We really need you. Thank you for all your support. We will see you next week. This has been the First Class, Second Place podcast. We out.
Bye.